Right, well, last time on the L28 build, we managed to get quite a bit done in that we stripped down the forks and could assess the damage, whether any major repairs needed to be done. They didn't, which is great. So we whacked on a coat of black paint just to protect it from any flash rust. We also removed the pinch bolt from the upper yoke. I suppose it's a yoke. Is it a yoke on a girder fork? I don't know. I'm going to call it a yoke. But there are a few areas that we need to kind of look at. Obviously, these are far from being complete and functional. Now, you might remember me saying I have got a spring. The spring is in there, but the mounting hardware is knackered, basically. Today, I'd like to have a go at removing that. I know what they look like because I've seen them outside of the bike, and they should go into two separate pieces. So hopefully we'll be able to come up with some sort of plot on how we can repair that. So this is what I mean. Up here, the thread is non-existent. That is real chewed up. I don't even know how that would happen unless someone left it in water or something like that. But it doesn't really look like it's rusted away. It looks like it's sort of been chewed away. I'm not sure how that would come about. And as for this end, it's been cut. So today we need to remove that and assess how we can make up a new set or repair these. Now, these sort of have a spiral groove on them where it kind of gets screwed into there. It's not going to budge by my hand, and I have been told the way to remove these is to clamp this area and give it a bash on the back of there with a hammer and a punch or something or other like that. So I guess we'll give that a go, and then we can have a little bit of a look in greater detail how this piece works, how we can repair it, or if not repair it, replicate it. Right, so I've managed to remove both of the spring mounts. Now, the bottom one, the larger one, is in much better condition and actually came off first attempt really, really easily. The second one, which is smaller and goes at the top in there, is in worse condition and took a lot more effort to remove. I actually had to leave it soaking in penetrating oil for 2 days. I scraped all the rust out that I could with a thin blade. And then had to get the big hammer involved, but we finally got it out. Now you can see by the condition of that, that thread is never going to be usable again, so we'll have to come up with something like that. We'll probably pop it in the lathe, spin it down, and then insert a new piece, I believe. All the spring contact area is good as new, which is probably why it held in there so well. It's possible that that was 100 years worth of rust or 96 years worth of rust. So no wonder it didn't want to budge, but I have got it to budge now. The larger one that goes on the bottom looks like that. Now, I actually thought that this was all one piece when I saw it because it was so rusted that everything had joined together, but I went over to Rick and he showed me a couple that he'd got in his stock, and he said, no, this piece actually removes. So you can see around there where it's rusted away, I've scraped all of that out with a screwdriver, and then giving this a tap should get that out of the middle and also free up this washer as well, and then we'll have to make a new piece to go in there. So I'll give it a little tap with a hammer, hopefully that will come straight out. I should mention that the difficulty with removing these is the fact that I can't use heat because the heat will spread so quickly to the spring will lose its springy properties, it'll become floppy. We don't want that. So yeah, we've managed to get them out. Let's take this over to the anvil, give it a bash and see if we can get that bolt out of there. so that actually came apart quite nicely. A little tap of the hammer and it came out. I think it helped that I put a bit of penetrating oil in there and also scraped away a lot of that rust. This is the mounting bolt that has been cut off. You can see it's got a little locating pin on there, not dissimilar to the way that the pinch bolt for the top yoke is done. I think that was in last episode. Now, that sits in there, locates in there like that. You can see from that just how rusty it was. In fact, it's rusted so far that that pin is half showing. And it's the kind of rust where it starts to delaminate. You know, when you get that really flaky rust and it almost swells, like it swells beyond its original dimension, which is why I thought that was all one piece. Plus the fact that you couldn't see this hole because this washer had also rusted to the top of it. But the important thing is that is in remarkable condition. It looks absolutely great. And we got a washer as well, so that's not all bad. We'll make up a new one of those. I think we'll probably do that at the same time as when we repair the top one, and maybe sort out that pinch bolt for the top yoke as well. That would make sense to me. Right, now whilst we're still on the subject of forks, obviously I stripped these down already, I've inspected them, they're structurally sound, which is great. But what I did overlook is the fact that we're going to be putting wheel nuts on here, which means we need a nice surface on those dropouts. Now, this one is in great condition. A little bit of sorting out might be needed, but I think we'd probably get away with it. This side, however, is not so good. Structurally, fine, but the surfaces are pitted. That's not going to be a nice mating surface for that nut when it goes on there. So we need to do a little bit of restoration on there. And since we're not doing this structurally, this is just a finishing job, I think it'll be okay to just blob a little bit of weld on there and we'll grind it down nice and smooth, see if we can get that good surface. Now, if you look at the dropouts, they're actually narrower at the beginning than they are in the middle, and that is because there's sort of like a little top hat that goes in there and locates them, I do believe. But still, that means something is going to have to locate against there. We want it to have a nice grip, a nice bond, and it's not going to do that being in this condition. So we're going to get the MIG welder out, we're going to blob some weld on there, take it nice and slowly, and then we can start filing it down. Maybe get the power file in there, a bit of a die grinder, and probably hand file as well, and see if we can get those nice smooth surfaces back. Well, I've just finished up reconditioning these dropouts, and I haven't gone the whole hog and made them completely pitless and shiny looking and new, although you probably could if you wanted to, just keep daubing the weld on there and filing it back down. But actually what I've got is something that kind of matches the condition of the rest of the forks, which is quite nice, because where you build up in these different layers of MIG, you will get these little pit marks and join marks and things like that, and once you file them down, they kind of look quite convincing, so I think we'll leave them where they are. They're definitely going to be good enough to hold in, say, the spacers, the nuts, the wheel spindle, all that lot. This is a pretty exciting little job because it's like the first truly involved bit of restoration that we're doing on this vehicle, so that's very, very cool. I used a whole load of tools. It took me a long time, but tool of the hour truly was the hand file. You can never have too many, of all different shapes and sizes. Yeah, so hopefully on camera this is going to focus and show you a little bit about what I've done, and we're making some good progress now on the forks. I have got to make up some bolts to go through here, but I'm waiting to get the materials, and I'm getting the materials from the Stafford Motorcycle Show in the next couple of weeks, which is pretty exciting. So yeah, hopefully we're going to pick up a few parts there. Who knows what's going to be hanging around? You just don't know, do you? Part of the excitement. Now, thank you guys for hanging around and watching. I know that my videos have been getting slightly longer. This is very involved and it's hard to keep it short and sweet. But hopefully you guys are enjoying it. The 440 will be returning soon. Don't worry. Don't forget, if you enjoyed the video, give it a like. And if you haven't subscribed and you want to see how this is going to turn out, make sure you do. Ta.